Hi everyone, hope you're all okay. So the practice I've got planned for this week is a practice that's going to be focused around just sort of opening the heart centre area. So that's going to involve a bit of back bending, some chest opening, and also kind of speaking to around the shoulder area as well. So as with all the practices that we do, being really mindful of what your body is asking of you, what your body is telling you, but particularly with this practice, because we are going to be looking at some back bending kind of poses as well, being really mindful of how the lower back particularly feels. And if anything doesn't feel appropriate, or it niggles in any way, or is causing discomfort, please leave it out, or feel free to modify it in a way that's going to work for you. You're more than welcome as well to contact me for any hints or tips to modify any of these. If you think that's going to be useful for you, I'm more than happy to send some photos or extra videos to help you with that. In terms of equipment, we are going to start the practice from a seated position today. So if you know sitting on the floor isn't the most comfortable for you, feel free to get yourself a chair to sit on. We might also use the chair for one other thing, but you can probably get away with using a wall as well. So if you don't need a chair for sitting, you don't need it at all for the practice as long as you've got a wall nearby. The next thing we're going to need is a block or something similar. So I'll just show you the dimensions of that and the width of it. We're going to be using that for a bit of sacroiliac stabilisation at the end of the practice. So hopefully you can find something similar that'll substitute for a block if you haven't got something like this at home. And then we will make a start. So we're going to get ourselves set up in a seated position. So if you need to grab yourself a chair, feel free to get that set up for yourself. If you're comfortable to sit on the floor, come in to sit in a position that's going to be comfortable for you. So today I've chosen to sit on a block, and I've got my bottom back towards my heels, but you're more than welcome to come into a cross-legged position or to sit with the legs lengthened out in front of you, whatever's going to work for you. And we're going to gently rest the arms and the hands somewhere on the legs. I'm going to invite you to soften and close your eyes here. And we're going to give ourselves a few moments to arrive at our practice today. And giving ourselves a chance to meet ourselves here on the mat and see which version of ourselves has arrived here today. So noticing how the body feels, particularly starting from a seated position, can be quite telling sometimes. So for me today, I can feel kind of my pelvis wanting to roll inwards and my upper back wanting to kind of round and slouch a little bit here. So I'm consciously lengthening down into my base to lengthen out through the crown of my head. Bringing length into the whole of my spine. And noticing how the breath is for you today. Where can you feel the breath moving? What's the quality of your breath? And checking in, kind of the energetic self, how your energy level's feeling. And it depends kind of, what time of the day we might be doing our practice. That's going to have an impact on our energy levels. And checking on the emotional, the mental weather. So I'm going to ask you to open the eyes here if you're working with them closed at the moment. So we're going to do a little bit of work with a mudra. We haven't done one of these for a while. Off the top of my head, I think this is called Ganesh Mudra. I meant to check before I started the video, but I've forgotten to, but I'm almost certain it's called Ganesh Mudra. I'll check and I'll write it in the email for you if I'm wrong. And this mudra is a mudra to kind of help us to present ourselves to the world with an open heart. And I think right now that's something that, you know, we could all benefit from at the moment. So how it works, I'll talk us through it first and then we'll have a go. So how it works, I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to let the fingers point towards the right. And I'm going to bring it around the level of my heart centre. And then I'm going to take my right hand, it's going to go on top of the left so that my right fingers are facing towards the left. And then I'm going to take a hold of the hand like so. And it's not a vice-like grip, but taking a hold gently there. And then how this works, what we do, we inhale through the nose as we normally would. And as we exhale, I'm going to begin to separate my arms, but without releasing my grip. Yeah, so it is quite a tug here. And then as I inhale again, I let go. And then as I exhale, I begin to draw or try to draw the hands away from each other without releasing the grip. And I repeat that around 6 times. And then once I've completed, I'm going to let my hands rest over my heart centre for a few moments. And then we flip the hands over, so they go the opposite way. And we do the same thing again 6 times. And then once we've completed there, again we bring the hands over the heart centre. So I'll talk us through. So if you want to work with your eyes closed, now's a good opportunity to let the eyes close. So starting with the left hand on the bottom, around the level of the heart centre, the right hand is going to go on top and we're going to take a hold from there. So let's just wait a few moments and let the breath settle. And then next time you exhale, as you exhale, we're going to begin to draw the hands away from each other, but without releasing the hold of the hands. And then letting go of that as we inhale. And as we exhale, drawing the hands apart from each other, but without releasing the grip. So that's 2. Let's go 4 more times at your own pace. So we're making this movement with the arms and hands on our exhalation. And once you've completed, don't rush, but once you've completed, you're going to let the hands come over the heart centre before we do the other side. Just spend a few moments with the palms of the hands resting against the heart centre. And we're going to repeat that, but this time with the hands flipped the opposite way. So this time the right hand is on the bottom, the left hand is on the top, and we take a hold. Let the breath settle for a few moments. And then when you're ready, as you exhale, we're going to draw the hands away from each other, but without releasing the grip. Again, 6 times at your own pace. And again, when you're completing, letting the palms of the hands rest against the heart centre for a few moments. And noticing how that area feels now. So it might feel that the whole of the chest has been impacted by that. And then letting the hands come back down to rest gently on the legs. Now if you've been working with your eyes closed, you might want to open them here. So, coming up from there, so if you're on your chair, come up from there, and we're going to come onto our mat. We're going to bring our bottom back towards our heels, let the toes touch. We're going to separate the knees. I'm going to lengthen and walk my hands forwards here. So I'm lengthening into the whole of my spine. And if the forehead allows it, I'm going to bring the forehead down towards the floor. Few breaths here. And you can either continue for a few breaths there, or if you want to take it a little bit more into the shoulders and the upper back, we're going to lift the bottom away from the heels, bringing the knees and the feet back to hip distance. And we're going to walk the hands forwards of the shoulders and keeping the bottom lifted up from the heels, but I'm going to lengthen back with my tail. And again, if my forehead's comfortable, I'm going to bring it down towards the mat. And again, a few breaths here. And then let's walk the hands back, coming back to sit back on the heels. Coming to all fours, we're going to do a little bit of work in our cat and cow pose here. So again, we're really familiar with this now. So bringing the hands under the shoulders or slightly further forwards if it's easier for the wrists. Knees under the hips. Finding that engagement around the lower belly area so that we're not allowing the lower back to kind of sag down towards the floor. So the lower back's got that support of the lower belly. And then from here, either on your inhalation or your exhalation, whatever works well for you, we're going to begin to round the upper back and let the back of the neck lengthen. And then on the next phase of the breath, we're going to draw the chest through the upper arms, keeping that support of the lower belly area for the lower back. And we're going to move in and out at our own pace. So of course this movement is affecting our back, our spine. But let's also think about the chest and the heart centre and all of this as well. So as we bring the spine into extension, which is where we bring the chest through the upper arms, really think about allowing the heart centre to kind of speak forward. And then as we come into our flexed cat pose, it's almost like the heart and the chest can rest back. Okay, and then coming back to a neutral position from there. Let's bring it up to standing. So coming up to standing from here. So I'm going to use my chair for this next thing, but you can do this against the wall as well. So we're going to come into a variation of downward dog. But bringing the arms high up like this has a really nice effect around the upper back, the chest and the shoulder area. So it's particularly good for if you've been working at a desk all day and you kind of have a little break. It's a really good movement to make. So if you're working with the wall, you're just simply going to place your hands on the wall, and then you're going to begin to step back with the feet. If you're working with the chair, I bring my hands on the top of the chair, and then again I step back with the feet, and I bring some length into my spine, so I'm speaking to my tail, the crown of my head. Again, I'm keeping that little bit of containment and support around the lower belly, so I'm not letting everything kind of just hang down. There's definite engagement there. I'm going to allow and encourage the breath to fill into the upper back. I can feel the rise and fall of the breath as I inhale and exhale. And checking in with the legs as well, that we're not locking back into the knees. And then let's come out of this by walking or stepping the feet forwards. And then letting the arms rest at the sides of the body. So we're going to use the wall regardless of this next thing. Now, as you can see, I've not got a wall close by to me, so I'm going to be doing it with an imaginary wall, but you're going to be doing this actually against a wall. So what you're going to do, you're going to come to stand nearby from a wall. So I'll show you my block as a bit of a gauge here. So if this was my wall, I'd be about this much away from it. Yeah. I'm going to bring my hand onto the wall. If I imagine that the wall is a clock, my hand would be right up at the 12 o'clock. Yeah, so we've done this before in class, so this shouldn't be too unfamiliar. And I'm simply going to spend a few breaths here. What might be quite nice to again work with this intention of the heart centre is to place our spare hand on that area. So if it feels comfortable, I'm going to walk my hand back. And depending on what hand you're using, it's either going to be towards the 1 o'clock or the 11 o'clock. But my chest is still wanting to face forward. So my chest isn't going with it. My chest wants to face forward. So I've got this deep opening in the front of my shoulder here. And then I'm going to walk my hand further back still, if that's comfortable, towards the 2 or the 10, depending on what way you're working. Again, take a few breaths here. And if it feels appropriate, if it feels okay, we can come back towards the 3, or you might want to come back to the 1 or the 2, that's fine. You might want to come back to 12. If you haven't got a wall nearby, what I've just discovered is that it actually works quite well without a wall still, if we imagine there's one there. And then I'm going to release and let the arm rest at the side of the body. Check out your longer arm, see how that feels, and then we're going to come to the opposite side. So you just need to spin yourself around. And you're going to come to your opposite hand. We're going to place that up towards the 12. You might want to bring your spare hand to rest on the heart centre. Few breaths here. So you might already be feeling that sort of deep connection right from the fingertips right into the shoulder blade. So let's walk it round again, depending on what way you're working, to the 11 or the 1. And notice how this second side is in comparison to the first. So this for me is usually my easier side, but this is a lot tighter for me today. And then we might want to take it around to the 10 or the 2. Ooh. And then taking it to the 3 or the 9, or staying and pausing at the previous ones if that's more appropriate. And again, keeping the chest as much as we can facing forwards, keeping the pelvis facing forwards. So again, we've got this deep opening in the front of the shoulder. And then when you're ready, release. Normally when we release, we get this kind of rush of blood into the whole of the arm. Good. Okay, so you can come away from the wall now, or your imaginary wall if you're like me. And we're going to come towards the front of our mat. We're going to bring our hands to prayer position, and then we're going to step wide on our mat. So we're going to take it to triangle to start some of our standing poses today. So we're going to turn the left toes in and turn the right toes out. I'm going to turn my pelvis as much as I can towards the right leg. And then even if I know I'm someone who can maybe work with my hand a bit lower, for today I'm purposefully going to bring my hand just below the knee. So regardless of whether you can go further or not, we're going to work with the hand just below the knee. And the reason for that is it tends to bring things into the chest and the upper back a little bit more here. So what we're going to do here, our spare hand as we normally do, we're going to place it in the under ribs. I'm going to brush across the front of my chest, and as I do that, imagining I'm turning my heart centre towards the front without disturbing the legs. And then I'm going to raise my arm up in line with the chest. So depending on where the chest comes to, my arm might be here, my arm might be here. Now, what we don't want is if my chest was here and then my arms be kind of off on a different track altogether. So keeping the arm in agreement with the chest. I don't know if you can get a sense of this. So as we inhale, it's like the chest wants to revolve forwards a bit more, and as we exhale, it might come down a bit more. And that's one of the reasons I wanted the hand just below the knee, so you can get a bit more of a sense of that gentle rotation in the spine, that gentle twist. And then releasing the top arm, a little bit of weight into the front foot to bring us back to parallel the feet. And then we'll take it to the opposite side, so turning the right toes in and the left toes out. I'm going to turn my pelvis towards the left toes, and then I'm going to place my hand just below the knee. With my spare hand, I'm going to bring it to the under ribs. I'm going to brush across the front of the chest. I'm going to turn my chest as much as I can, within reason, towards the front, and then I'm going to lift my arm in agreement with the chest. Yeah, so I'm revolving my chest as much as is comfortable for me. And again, seeing if we can find that support and that gentle oscillation of the breath here. So as we inhale, the chest might turn a little bit more towards the front, and as we exhale, it might release a little. And feel how this differs to your fair side as well. And then releasing the top arm, a little bit of weight into the front foot to bring us back to parallel the feet. And let's step back to the front of our mat. And let's see how that lands. Noticing what you notice, particularly around the upper back, the chest, the shoulder area. Let's bring the hands into prayer position again. And then we're going to step wide again on our mat. And this time we're going to come into side angle, Parsvakonasana, and we're also going to take it into Warrior 2 while we're there as well. So let's turn the left toes in. turn the right toes out. Keeping the engagement in this back leg, we're going to bend the front knee without taking all the weight there. Yeah, so keeping that connection to the back leg, bend in the front knee. We're going to bring the right forearm to rest on the thigh and thinking about keeping the front of the body nice and long so we're not rounding the back and closing off the chest. So remember before as well, letting the heart centre kind of speak forward. And then with our spare hand, we're going to reach up towards the ceiling. Now I'm not going to take it over in line with the back leg today. Again, I want to speak to this area a little bit more, so I'm simply going to keep my arm again in agreement with the chest here. And again, without disturbing the legs, can we feel that movement in the spine as we inhale and exhale? So as we inhale, there might be a turn of the chest more towards the front. And as we exhale, a slight release of that. And we're going to take it into Warrior Two from here. So without disturbing the legs, we're going to come up from there. We're going to bring the hands into prayer position in front of the chest. So we're going to show you another little gesture here with the hands that we can make. So how this works, we're going to let the fingers begin to point forwards and then down. We release the palms, we let the backs of the hands come together and we draw the arms out so that the palms are still facing up. So I'll show you that again. Bringing the hands into prayer position. We turn the fingers down towards the ground, the palms open, the backs of the hands come together and then we turn the palms out. That makes sense? And then a few breaths there and then we can turn the palms back down towards the ground and we're going to turn the gaze to look out and beyond the right hand. We'll be doing that gesture a few more times, so don't worry, you'll get a bit more practice of it today. Let's release the arms, a little bit of weight into that front foot to bring us back to parallel the feet. So we're going to take it to the opposite side, so turning the right toes in and the left toes out. Bending the left knee without disturbing that back leg, so keeping that connection. And then we know, yeah, the tracking the knee towards the second and third toes. And then I'm going to bring my left forearm to rest on my thigh, so we're bringing it into side angle first. So then from here, allowing the heart centre to turn towards the front. I'm going to brush across the chest and I'm going to open that arm out in agreement with the chest. Again, seeing if we can find that support of the breath here. And that sort of gentle twisting movement in the spine. It's almost like you're kind of wringing a cloth out, yeah? And then let's take it into Warrior Two. So coming up from there, we're going to bring the hands into prayer position, the front of the chest. And if you find this gesture just a bit too complicated, yeah, just bring the arms out in line with the shoulders. So the movement we're going to make with the hands in prayer position, front of the chest, we turn the fingers down towards the ground, we open the palms, the backs of the hands come together, and then we turn the arms out in line with the shoulders. Yeah, I'll do that again. Hands in prayer position, turning the fingers towards the ground, the palms separate, backs of the hands come together, we draw the arms out in line with the shoulders. And you can work with the arms, with the palms still facing up, or you can turn the palms down. I actually do quite like to work my palms up sometimes. And then we're going to turn the gaze to look out and beyond the left hand. A few breaths there, and then when you're ready, releasing the arms, a little bit of weight into the front foot to bring us back to parallel the feet, and then come back to the front of your mat from there. And again, let's see how that lands. What can we feel? So there might be some stuff going on around the arms, the shoulders. So we're going to work with Warrior One pose now, and where we've not done a huge amount of that in class, but hopefully the way I'm going to show you now shouldn't be too unfamiliar, because it's actually, I teach it in a similar way to I teach Parsvottanasana, so we should be fairly familiar with this. So I've just flipped my mat around so you can see it a bit clearer. So you're going to come towards the front of your mat, and we're going to step the left foot back behind us. Again, it doesn't need to be a huge step back, so kind of as we will for Parsvottanasana. And then we want the legs to be on these sort of tram lines, so the feet are parallel, we're not on a tight rope. And then from here, oh yeah, so it's okay if the back foot turns out slightly as well, that's okay. And then from here, we're going to come to make that little rocking movement that we're quite familiar back and forth. Next time we rock forwards, we're going to pause there, and we're going to keep that lift in the chest as much as we can. And as we bring the back heel down, we're going to let this front knee bend. Yeah, so the heels come down and the front knee bends. So next time I do this, I'll show you this from the side as well. So we've still got this real lift in the upper part of the body. So almost imagine, yeah, we know we spoke about our branch. You can imagine you're sort of trying to take hold of your branch. Oh. And then releasing the arms, stepping the back foot forwards. So I'll show you that when I do the second side, I'll show you from the side. So this time stepping the right foot back behind you again, it doesn't need to be a huge step back. And then we're going to bring our little rocking back and forth movement in. Next time we rock forward, pause in this, we've got that real lift in the chest, real lift in the spine, and then as we allow that back heel to come back down, we let this front knee bend. So it's probably a narrower stance to what you might be used to seeing Warrior One in the books, but it's a really nice way to kind of keep it around this sort of upper body area. Few breaths here. Releasing the arms and stepping the back foot forward from there. Let's do that again one more time each side. So I'll stay doing it from this point of view now. So stepping the left foot back again. So you've got your tram lines. And then we're going to do our rocking back and forth. Next time we rock forward, pause in there, keeping that lift. Yes, we don't want to disturb the upper body, but we're going to allow the back heel to come down, and the front heel to come down if that's lifted as well, as we bend that front knee. I'm really encouraging the breath to fill into the sides of the ribs here. And as we do that, we might get a sense of the arms widening as we inhale, the lungs expand and drawing together as we exhale. You might even want to let some exhalations out through the mouth. And then release the arms, stepping the back foot forwards. Quite a strong pose, and quite a big impact. Let's step the right foot back, so opposite side now. Again, let's find our little rock back and forth. And then next time we rock forwards, pause in there, keeping that lift that we've got without disturbing that. We're going to allow that back heel to come down towards the ground as we let that front knee bend. Keeping that connection in the back foot. encouraging the breath to fill into the sides of the ribs. Releasing the arms and stepping the back foot forwards from there. Good, okay. So from here we're going to do a bit of a transition to eventually bring us back down onto the mat. So we're going to bring the hands into prayer position. So we're going to come to do a bit of work in lunge. So bringing the hands into prayer position, a little bow to the earth, we're going to float the arms up. Let's bring the arms wide, bend the knees generously, and let's come into that forward bend where we reach the arms forwards and we lengthen back with the tail. Let's bring the hands down towards the ground, lift the heels, and let's step back with the left foot. Lowering the knee and untucking the toes. So letting the weight pour down into the feet. Bringing the hands first of all onto the thigh, and this is where we're going to bring in that little gesture movement again. So if it's comfortable, if it's okay for you, we're going to bring the hands into prayer position in the front of the chest again. We're going to turn the fingers down towards the mat. The palms will separate. We bring the backs of the hands together. We draw the arms and hands wide, and then we're going to take them up and over the head. We're going to interlock the fingers, but let our first fingers, our index fingers, point up towards the ceiling. So a bit like a gun, pointing up towards the ceiling. And you might feel that has a little effect around the underarm area and around the sides of the ribs. And we're still letting the weight pour into the feet. Releasing the arms, bringing the hands down to the mat. Let's tuck the toes under on the back leg, lift the knee, lean into the back foot to step forwards. Coming up from there, drawing the arms over the head and back down to the sides of the body. Seeing how that lands, that might feel very different on one side of the body now. So let's take to the other side, so let's bring the hands into prayer position again. A little bow to the earth, let's float the arms up. Let's bring the arms wide, bend the knees generously, and let's take the arms in front of the head, lengthening out through the crown of the head, out through the tail. Bringing the hands down, lifting the heels. This time stepping the right foot back, lowering the knee, and untucking the toes, finding that support in the feet, so letting the weight pour down into the feet, bringing the hands to rest on the thigh. Let's bring the hands into prayer position if it's appropriate, and then we're going to make that little gesture again. So I'm going to roll my fingers down towards the mat, the palms open, bring the backs of the hands together, and then I draw the arms wide and up over the head, interlocking the fingers again, but try and make it so it feels a bit strange, so moving the fingers all down one, and then letting the first fingers again point up towards the ceiling. So it's like we've got, again, this two-way street, so we've got this reaching and lifting up of the arms, and this grounding and anchoring down into the feet and the legs. Let's bring the hands down, tucking the toes under on the back leg, lifting the knee, leaning into the back foot to step forwards. Coming up from there, drawing the arms over the head and back down at the sides of the body. And just spending a few moments letting that land, noticing what you notice. So let's come down onto our front from here. So we're going to do a bit of work to strengthen the back And then after that, we'll do a little bit of work to kind of reset and balance the spine as well. So coming onto your front, we're going to let the arms lengthen out in front of us and slightly wider than the shoulders. Yeah, so they're not straight out in front of us, we're on a bit more of a diagonal. And then the legs are nice and active, so what helps us to do that is if we lift one leg up and consciously lengthen it back, and then the other leg, you'll feel like the knees lift a little more and the legs feel a bit more active. If it's comfortable, let the forehead come down. So what we're going to do here, we're going to think about our right arm and our left leg. And we're going to lift and lengthen the right arm and the left leg. And I want the emphasis to be more on the lengthening as opposed to the lift. So when you're ready, we're going to lift, so it's just a small lift, and lengthen the right arm and the left leg. And then bring them back down. And then we'll do the same again, but with the opposite side, so it'll be the left arm and the right leg. And then release. And we're going to do that 2 more times, yeah? So both sides as a 1, and we'll do that twice. So when you're ready, and then when you've completed, bring your hands under your shoulders to support you. Tuck the toes under. Bring the bottom back towards the knees. And we're very briefly going to lift up into downward dog from there. Few breaths here. And if you think downward dog's a bit much for you at the moment, you can come into a child pose. And again, pausing for a few breaths there. And then we're going to come down gently from there, and we're going to come back onto our front again. So again, bringing the arms forward slightly wider than the shoulders, picking up one leg, lengthening it back, picking up the other leg, lengthening it back so the legs are nice and active, the forehead comes down. So the next part of this, we're going to concentrate simply on the legs. So what we're going to do, we're going to lift both legs and lengthen, and then release. And we will do that 3 times, yeah? And again, the emphasis being on the lengthen as opposed to the lift. So when you're ready, lifting, lengthening, release. So 3 times in total. And then using your hands to support you, either coming back to rest in your child pose or coming up into your downward dog. Whatever feels comfortable for you there. I'm going to choose child pose for a change for this one. When you're ready, we're going to come back onto our front again. So there's 2 more variations of this we want to do. So the arms lengthened out, slightly wider than the shoulders. Lifting one leg, lengthening it back. Lifting the other leg, lengthening it back. Forehead down. This time we're going to focus on the upper body. So next we're going to lift the arms. If the head feels comfortable, we can lift the head as well. But again, it's just a small lift, yeah, it doesn't need to be high. We're thinking more about lengthening. And then release. Lifting. So we're going to do this 3 times in total. And the legs are still active here. And then using the hands to support you, either coming up to your downward dog from there, or coming into your child pose. Few breaths there. So the last variation, you can either repeat any of the ones that we've done, or you can rest back in child pose, or you can come to lie on your back, bring your knees in towards your chest if that feels more comfortable. But the last one we're going to try, if it feels okay, is the same starter setup. So lifting one leg, lengthening back and the other. And this time we're going to do the whole body, so legs and arms and head. We're going to lift and lengthen. We're going to do it 3 times again. So when you're ready, lifting and lengthening, a bit like Superman, and release. And seeing if you can find a phase of your breath that helps to support the movement that you're making. And then again, when you've completed your 3, either coming into child pose or coming back up to your downward dog. And then coming back down from your downward dog, or coming back up from your child pose from there. So we're going to do 3 more things actually. We're going to do a little bit of work in bridge pose, and then we're going to do some stabilising and balancing work, and then we will come to rest down. So coming onto your back, and we're going to bring the feet on the floor, knees up towards the ceiling, and the bottom's going to be fairly close to the heel. So we're getting ourselves set up for bridge pose here. And make sure you're going to have enough room to bring your arms over the head. We're going to work in this variation today, if that's comfortable. So letting the arms first of all rest at the sides of the body with the palms facing down. And then letting the weight pour down into the feet. The pelvis will lift. We're going to continue that movement. So we're going to roll up through the spine, continuously letting the weight pour into the feet. When we come to the top of our bridge, we're going to roll the arms up and over behind the head. So again, we're really speaking to the upper back and chest area here. And then rolling back down through the spine as we keep the arms up over the head. And then once we touch down with the pelvis, we can sweep the arms back down to the sides of the body. So let's go 4 more times at your own pace. 4 more times. Constantly using the support of the feet. Trying to work through the spine in sequence and always looking for how the breath can support the movement. So it might feel good to peel the spine up on a particular phase of the breath. It might feel good to sweep the arms up over the head in another part of the breath. So really looking for how the breath can help us here. And then once you've completed, drawing the knees into the chest and having a little rock from side to side. And then let's bring the feet back down onto the mat. So the last couple of things I want to do. So the first one is a bit of work to help kind of stabilise the muscles around the sides of the spine. So I think again this is something that we might have done in class. So I'm going to lie on one side. I'm going to have my shins kind of in line with the outer edge of my mat. And I'm going to bring my legs to this kind of right angle position. And I'm going to come to lay on my side. I'm going to use this lower arm to support my head. So the first part of this movement is simply lifting the lower leg away, the upper leg away from the lower leg. Yeah, and all I'm using is the lower part of that leg, so the thighs stay together. I'm going to repeat that about 6 times, roughly 6 times. And then once you've completed them, the next part of the movement is I pick both feet and lower legs up away from the floor. And again, I'm going to repeat that about 6 times. And then the last part of the movement before we do it again on the opposite side is I'm going to use this top arm. I'm going to place the hand on the underside of my head, and it is there purely for support, so I'm not using the arm to lift the head. I'm not going to do that at all. It's simply there to support the weight of the head. And then the movement, I'm going to pick the feet up like I did before, and my upper part of the body lifts as well. And the movement is instigated from the sides of the body. And again, I'm going to repeat that about 6 times. So it's like I'm shortening this kind of space just beneath the sides of the ribs. And it doesn't need to be a huge lift either. So really that hand doesn't even have to be there, but it's just there for the head to be heavy in. So hopefully you've done around 6, you might have done a couple more, but then we're going to take it over to the opposite side. So if you remember, the first movement was simply this top leg, and we lift it up and down. Again, 6 times. And then part 2, we lift both the legs up. And then the last part, using this top arm to support the head. We lift both the upper body and the lower legs. Again, remembering it's a shortening here. That helps the movement. And then coming back up from there. So the last thing is a little movement to help kind of stabilise the sacroiliac joint, especially after the back bending that we've been doing. It might be really useful for us, particularly if we've been sitting around a lot more than what we normally would. So again, coming onto my back, as if I was going to come into bridge pose. I'm going to take my block, I'm going to place it in between my thighs, so not widthways, yeah, so the narrower bit is going between the thighs. It's a really easy movement this. So as I exhale, what I'm going to do on my exhalation is squeeze the block with my thighs. And then as I inhale, I release. As I exhale, I squeeze the block with my thighs. And again, around 6 times. And then once you've completed, placing your block to one side, and you might want to give the legs a little bit of a jiggle and a shake because they've been kind of in that sort of bent right angle position for quite a few of the movements there. So giving the legs a good shake out. I don't know if you heard my hip crack there. And then we're going to get ourselves set up for Shavasana. So get whatever you need, get a blanket, make sure you're going to be warm enough. And getting yourself as comfortable as you can be here. And we're going to continue with our reading of the Yoga Sutras. So we're on to part 2 of the Yoga Sutras now, which is Treading the Path. So hopefully you're all set up here, as comfortable as you can be. I'm going to invite you to soften and close the eyes here. So we're on verse 1 of the second part. Purification, refinement, surrender. These are the practical steps on the path of yoga. They nourish the state of samadhi and weaken the causes of suffering. The causes of suffering are 5. Ignorance of our real nature, egoism, attachment, aversion, and the fear of death, which makes us cling to life. So I'll read that again for you. Purification, refinement, surrender. These are the practical steps on the path of yoga. They nourish the state of samadhi and weaken the causes of suffering. The causes of suffering are 5. Ignorance of our real nature, egoism, attachment, aversion, and the fear of death, which makes us cling to life. So giving ourselves a few moments here to absorb the benefits of the practice that we've completed today, and to let the words of the sutras land in the self. Noticing how the body feels after the practice that we've completed. How does the chest feel, the upper back, around the shoulders? And does that add an impact of any other areas in the body? I don't know if you've noticed the tone of my voice even change through this video, and I think that's been down to releasing my throat through some of the movements that we've been doing. And noticing where the breath fills the body and the quality of the breath. And again, checking in with the energetic self. I often find working with chest opening and sort of back bending movements, they tend to reveal my true energy level, not the one I think I have. So don't be surprised if it's unlocked a bit of a wave of tiredness, or that you didn't know was there, or maybe you're feeling a bit more sprightly after the practice. And again, checking in with the mental and emotional weather. Working on opening the heart and presenting ourselves to the world with an open heart isn't always an easy task, and that can often it can raise anxiety sometimes. So again, if that happens, don't be afraid of that, and get yourself into sort of a comfortable position that really helps you to feel like you're supported. And really allowing ourselves to rest here, rest into the support of the ground beneath us. So we're going to begin to slowly come out of this now, but if you want to stay here, for a bit longer, feel free to kind of leave my words here and rest. But if you do want to come out of it, let's start to let the body know about it. So let's let the fingers and toes start to gently move. You might feel comfortable to let the head turn from one side to the other. And let's generate some heat in the palms of the hands. And you may wish to place the hands over the eyes, or you may want to do what we did last week, and kind of in keeping with the theme of this week, you might want to place the hands over the heart centre, and especially if you are feeling a little bit kind of anxious after the practice that we've just done. I suppose anxious in the best, so apprehensive, apprehensive. And then taking all the time you need to complete, but eventually bringing the eyes to open and adjusting to the light in the room, noticing more sounds, any sensations and tastes in the mouth. And then let's gather the knees in towards the chest. Having a little rock from side to side, and eventually letting that momentum come to take you to rest on one side of the body and spend a few moments there. And then eventually, again, taking the time that you need, eventually bringing yourself back up to a comfortable seated position from there. So we will leave that there for this week's practice. As always, I am on hand, so if you feel like you need anything modifying and you're not too sure how you can do that, or if you want some alternatives, please feel free to contact me. Like I said, I'm happy to kind of take pictures of setups that you can use, or make sort of additional little mini videos for you. I'm more than happy to do that. And like I said, I will find the name of that mudra. I'm pretty convinced it's Ganesh Mudra, but yeah, I'll let you know for certain. So we'll leave that there. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.